If you're just tuning in, g'day from the Global Surveyor, Sydney, Australia. A couple of days before Christmas, and the mad Christmas rush is still here. Still got plans to draw, so just thought I'd do a bit of a live stream before Christmas, and probably be the only live stream I do. So if you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I'm just downloading some data on my Leica CS20 for a detail survey job that I did just recently. Another plan to draw. Client would like the plan before Christmas, although council probably won't do anything with it, which is always the way, but job is a job. G'day Gur, how you going? Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you let me know where you're watching from too. I'd like to know whether that's in Australia or overseas, what country you're from. If you're a surveyor or you're not a surveyor, that's okay. You're watching from your phone, well, that's a good start. Florida, cool. I'm in Sydney, Australia, and it's pretty hot today, pretty hot. Sydney, Australia. If you're a surveyor, let me know. If you're not a surveyor, that's okay. My channel, Global Surveyors, is all about surveying, land surveying. So I like to find old survey marks, and I like to, if I could just get paid to find survey marks, that would be great. G'day Valerie, how you going? If you're just tuning in, let me know where you're watching from. I'm coming to you from Sydney, Australia. And just trying to finish some of my survey plans before the end of the year. G'day Mickey. I was a survey draftsperson for many, not survey draftsperson, I was an architectural drafting student, completed that and needed a job in architectural drafting, and I couldn't get anyone to do that. So what am I saying? I couldn't get a job in architectural drafting is what I meant to say. And so a surveyor took me on, and after that I was able to do a bit of drafting for him, and found surveying was a cool career. So that's how I got into surveying. Sorry, I'm a bit airheaded today. I'm trying to draw a plan. What do I use for drafting? Well, I use a program called MiniCAD for survey drafting. That's downloading all my data, like from my data controller here, Leica CS20. And believe it or not, this program, MiniCAD, I'll put a link to it. It costs, you won't believe it, $75 a year. It's like a yearly subscription. That's 75 Australian dollars. Check it out. If you're looking for a really affordable survey program, I'll just put the website address up there. It's like CivilCAD. And it's a really, really good program, and it enables you to download all your data and then draft plans. So I use that initially for all my survey calculations, and then I use BricsCAD. I used to use AutoCAD, but now I bought a license for BricsCAD, a perpetual license actually. So I can just use that for as long as I like. So yeah, it's really, really cool. Let me know where you're watching from. It's always nice to see people from all over the world tune in. Yeah, well, I mean, for BricsCAD, Mickey, I actually started off with AutoCAD, so I sort of knew the basics, but I pretty much use BricsCAD primarily just for 2D drafting, putting all the text on the plan. I use MiniCAD, the link I put there, um, for, well, I mean, basically all the data gets recorded here. I download it to the computer. 99% of it's all drawn up, but then I use MiniCAD to do all the basic survey calculations, send a DXF over to BricsCAD, and then I just put all the notes on, like the street name and the lot numbers and the dimensions for the lots and things like that. So I don't really use BricsCAD for any major survey drafting, survey sort of calculation component, but I do use MiniCAD, and yeah, I recommend checking it out. You can do metric and feet in there, so it depends on where you're coming from. But obviously, I'm in Australia, so everything's metric. But yeah, it's a really cool program and affordable. And BricsCAD, I bought a license for BricsCAD at sort of the start of 2023, and it cost me about $845 Australian. It was on special actually, so at the time. So it might be a little bit cheaper depending on where you're watching from. But yeah, it's a good program. I probably would like to make a few videos and record my screen so I can show people the MiniCAD software. Oh, you're from Dubbo. Oh, cool. Well, yeah. Well, there's two things. The MiniCAD, if I'm not sure what sort of software you're using out in Dubbo, but I'm in from New South Wales too. But I bought BricsCAD from company down in Melbourne, but I know CR Kennedy now are selling BricsCAD. But yeah, BricsCAD for surveying, I know there's a few add-ons, but I'm not really sure whether, they how good they are. I prefer to use the MiniCAD software, which is written by a surveyor in Sydney, and yeah, a lot easier to use too. Very, very straightforward. Draw a point, draw a traverse, draw a line. It's simple stuff. Well, I would think if you're using BricsCAD, it would be primarily for the final plan drawing, depending on, what software are you guys using for your main survey calculations? Oh yeah, Trimble Business Centre, yeah. Well, I suppose you're using Trimble Business Centre to download all your data. I don't know too much about Trimble Business Centre, but does that allow you to view the survey that you've undertaken with all your gear? Like, do you draw lines between features that you've already mapped if they need to be drawn, or is it primarily just for downloading the data? I don't use that. I'm a Leica person, so all my gear's Leica. We use Trimble as well. I have played with Minicad and there are some pain points regarding the way our libraries are set up. Yeah, well, I guess it's a basic program. It's a good program, don't get me wrong. I mean, for $75 a year, I mean, that's pretty good value, really. That's, I mean, you know, as you guys would know, you know, survey gear is expensive. So there's quite a big investment actually into buying all the gear. But I've known the person that wrote Minicad is Ian Iredale from Sydney, and I've known him for like 25 years, so I'm sort of loyal to using his gear. And but at $75 a year, I mean, goodness me. I remember buying Minicad 3 when it first started back in, it was years ago, but I bought a license back in the year 2000, and I think we paid like $900, and it came with a dongle that you plugged in the computer. And I thought, gee, $900 is a lot of money. But then if you figure out, you know, like, here's my trusty Hewlett-Packard 41CX, you know. I can't use my brain, it's close to Christmas. But $900, 75 divide, that's 12 years. That if you bought Minicad now, Minicad 7, which is, it's got quite a lot of things, you know, a lot of features. It does everything you need, really, except it doesn't really have a 3D component. But you know, you'd have to have a license for 12 years before Minicad would actually sort of make a profit, I guess, if you look at it like that. So it's pretty bloody good value, really. I got Leica, the guys in Leica, a guy called Chris Emmerich, who in Sydney and CR Kennedy, he set my controller up with all the strings and the features that way, so that when I brought that straight into Minicad, there were no issues. So I hope all you guys are doing well, and I don't know whether you guys are still working in the office or not. I am, very painfully. I've got two things to do before the end of the year, Christmas. A detail survey to draw up and an ident survey to do. And the ident's important, I guess. The detail survey is going to a draftsperson, but they're not actually going to, they won't be doing anything between now. They might look at it over the Christmas break, but nothing will be going into the council. So how's my time split between the field and the office? I don't really... I don't really have a magic sort of figure to give you. It just depends on what the jobs are. Like sometimes I like to try and do a couple of field jobs in a week, get all that done, and then spend the next week in the office drawing plans. I'm terrible when it comes to doing looking at the weather. You know, like I'll just go, oh yeah, I'm going to go out there tomorrow, not even realizing it's going to rain tomorrow. You know, I should do that. I should sort of be a little bit more organised. But in terms of it's kind of a 50-50 split. I mean, my business is just me. So I have to do the field work, then I have to do the office work. So, but I like spending a lot of time outside, and I like to try and find jobs whereby a lot of office work is not really required. Like, for example, a boundary marking survey. If I'm going way out in the bush and just putting marks in for a boundary, the time it takes to make a plan after that survey, it doesn't take as long, and it's a little bit faster turnaround in terms of the office work. Whereas a detailed survey, as you guys would know, there's a lot more work involved in doing that. So pretty happy with Minicad because of the value. Yeah, I would be too. I mean, I know that Ian Idale, the guy that wrote Minicad, so I'm always asking, and he's always open to suggestions. So feel free to reach out to him if you need something written for your work. He can do that. I have asked him to write me a few things, like for argument's sake, I might read to, say, the corners of a building, and I don't. And as you know, when we read things, everything gets a height, easting, northing, and a height, or a position, 3D position. But sometimes I don't want the height for the building, so I got him to write me a little program where I can put my file in and it will strip out all the points that don't have a height. But I have to have a code, so I code my building corners, building no level or wall no level, and so the NL at the end of the code, he wrote me a little program separate to Minicad, but I can upload the text file and it goes through and goes, oh, there's an NL there, and it strips it out and gives it a height of minus 10,000 or something like that. So when I bring it into Minicad, those points don't actually have a height. So that was pretty cool. So Ian can do little things like that if to custom to suit your needs if it's not included in Minicad. But he's retired now as a surveyor, a registered guy. So he's trying to spend a bit more time working on Minicad. I guess everyone's probably in the same boat. It's 2 days to Christmas. Some people are probably finished work and don't have to worry about doing any more work. But is it a CDF file? For Minicad, are you talking about? Minicad file has a .mcd as Minicad. That's its main, the last three parts, like a DXF or a CSV. It's an MCD file. Great thing about Minicad as software too is it can read in any type of file, DXF, all sorts of things. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, you can just, for your prefix or your suffix or whatever, everything of mine is like a suffix, I guess it is. So is it, yeah, suffix. So it's, wall 01 or top of curb 01, 02, 03. But if it's a corner of a building, what I like to do is pick up, if it's a house, I like to pick up all the, maybe say a metre high above the ground or whatever, I'll pick up all the corners and I say building no level or building BLDNL. And, but I'll always get a height at those corners, but on the natural surface, 20 or 30 mils away from the corner, I'll just read a second level that way. So it's good for the draftsperson, because then they can, they can measure the distance of the building accurately, as opposed to getting a shot, holding a prism next to the corner or whatever of the wall. But yeah, well, I just have an NL. For anything that doesn't want a level, I just NL for no level, and then I put it into this little program that Ian wrote, which is separate to Minicat. I just load up the file and it corrects the whole text file and changes all the heights that way. But I have tried to get him to do it into Minicad. That would be a really, really cool thing. He used to have a -9 in there, and that seemed to work, but yeah. So are you guys still working at this stage, or you finished now for the year? What's happening? What's happening with people? Yeah, and you're SVG, you're a student from Belgium. Well, welcome. I'm coming to you from Sydney, Australia. Leith is lucky because he's on holidays. Man. Well, I kind of am on holidays, really. I mean, the thing is, I'm my own boss. I could, if I really wanted to work, I don't have to do anything really, but I know that I have a few people that are kind of counting on me, so but I thought I'd just start a live stream, say good day to everyone, and we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers on my channel, which is pretty cool. That was sort of my goal, one of my main goals. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would say that everyone that's watching is probably subscribed to the channel, so thanks. And yeah, please feel free to share it with anyone else who hasn't. I've got an idea for next year, for 2025. You may have seen some of the videos that I put up there. It's called Save a Survey Mark Day. And the idea is that on a day to be announced, the idea will be to go and save some survey marks. Go find some survey marks that perhaps are buried under the ground or in poor condition, and go fix them up so it makes it easy for the next surveyor. I'd really love if there was an unlimited supply of metal boxes that we could go around and place them on over GI pipes or concrete blocks, because you spend so long looking for survey marks, and it seems to be the greatest amount of time spent on a job is looking for survey marks, and if they were just there like a hydrant, you could walk up to a hydrant, lift up the lid, oh, there's a survey mark. It would be really cool. So I've been talking to a few people about it. A lot of people think it's a great idea, and we just got to hope that get a few people on board, and I guess I don't know how successful it will be, but there's no harm in trying. We just start straight away, and I'll start and see how it goes, 1 year at a time. I mean, if people could do it throughout the whole year, that would be fantastic. But especially down here, we have a few old subdivisions where there are concrete blocks or GI pipes that have been put in the 60s or whatever, and they're just so hard to find. Or I don't like digging up people's lawns. You know, people might have they don't have a front fence, and they have nice lawn all the way to the curb, and it's a real pain in the neck. So how long have I been going by myself? Since 2018, I started. 1st of January 2018 was when I went out on my own. I got registered as a surveyor in 2012 and worked for a surveyor for 23 years, believe it or not. 1994 I started as a surveyor's assistant. I didn't know anything about surveying, and worked for 4 years, and then after that I thought surveying's a pretty cool job, and so I decided to go to university, Uni of Southern Queensland, and I did my degree that way. So yeah, and after 20 odd years I started to buy the odd piece of gear, and it's not really that expensive. I mean, a lot of people, I think that's what worries people the most, is getting started, you know, and buying all the gear and buying this. Well, and this was expensive, and I've got a Leica TS16 and GPS and a whole bunch of things if you've probably seen in my videos. So it is expensive, but it's not impossible, and it's quite rewarding too. You know, I mean, you've got to work. Obviously, you've got to work a little bit harder, because if you don't do the job, you don't get paid, you know, or you don't draw the plan, you can't send an invoice. So, but if you're in a position to do it, I highly recommend it, you know. And you get to a point now whereby if you've got enough work, you can sort of pick and choose. You can sort of pick and choose the type of work you like to do, you know. What kind of surveys do you do the most? I would say rural boundary surveys are the ones I do the most, out in the bush. Not on big open blocks of land, but sort of there's a lot of, if you look at the channel, and you'll see a lot of videos. I spend a lot of time out in the scrub looking for old survey marks, but yeah, I do every type of survey, but well, I don't do construction. I don't do large scale construction. I do set out a house or a shed or a swimming pool, but I don't do big engineering projects. But yeah, I like to go out and find old survey marks. I mean, there are a lot of old survey marks that I found on the channel. I made a lot of videos about that. So yeah, make sure you check out those videos and share them if you like. Be great. I'd appreciate that. And ideas for videos. If anyone's got any ideas, I'd love to make them. I'm always looking for different sorts of ideas. A few people have asked me to make some videos about some survey gear, which is cool. So as you can see there, I've got an old Troughton and Sims theodolite from 1880. So I've got quite a bit of old survey gear here actually. Gee. That's a bit of an interesting story, Keith. Old survey pegs. Here's an old survey peg here that I rescued from a property in disrepair. I put in a brand new survey peg there. But then here's something interesting, Keith, if you're still watching. Check this out. This is an old survey peg. Now look at the size, if you can see. Look at the size of this peg. And here's the interesting thing. Talking about a bullet, Keith. Look. A bullet. I don't know if that's I don't think that's the bullet you're talking about, but look at that. There's the bullet. That's a bit of a coincidence, eh, Keith? It's funny. I rescued this old survey peg, or these two old survey pegs actually, and yeah, I got the peg home. I just chucked it in the back of my car because I put in those old pegs. This old peg here, I pulled that one out of the ground because you can't. There's nothing there to mark. So I put in a brand new peg. But the second peg had already been pulled out and was lying on the ground. So I just chucked it back in the car, and when I got home, got it out, I thought, bugger me, there's a bullet, or the shell of the bullet. I don't know if I don't think someone would fire that into the thing, because that's the bit that comes out of the gun. Well, that's not the bullet itself. That's just the casing. So someone's just pushed it in the peg there. But I just thought that was quite interesting, so I left it in there. But for anyone who may have just joined, or where is it? There. There's a bullet. A bullet in a massive peg. So every time I pick that bloody peg up, it puts bits of peg all over my desk, which is a pain, but not to worry. But I hope everyone's doing well. I guess live streaming here for you guys is kind of me procrastinating and not drawing plans, so which isn't a bad thing, really. It's not a bad thing. I will later on this afternoon. I've got to get cracking and get some work done. But I thought I'd do a live stream and say good day to everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Make sure you check out all the latest videos. I started my YouTube journey not with anything fancy, just using an iPhone to make videos. So I'm trying very hard. I do have a 360-degree camera, and I've actually made a few videos with a 360-degree camera, which are pretty cool. So make sure you check them out. But hopefully Santa's going to bring me a few cool camera bits and pieces for Christmas, and maybe a microphone also. Little microphone that I can do there, which might be better working out in the field because you might be able to hear a little bit clearer. But I've been sitting here, I've been down, for those who may have just joined, I've downloaded some data from my Leica CS20 controller, and I unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate, but it's I have 2 more jobs to finish before Christmas, a detail survey and an ident survey to do. I don't think the clients are in a screaming hurry for it, but it'll just be good for me to get it off my desk. So that's what I'll be doing a little bit later today. I would assume everyone else is pretty much packed up for the year, I would imagine. Is anyone can't even get the words right. No one's working over Christmas, are they? I don't think he would be, surely not. Does the TS16 get much of a run with the GS18 around? Well, I must admit, I yes and no. The GS18 I use a lot, and you know, some people say, well, that's not as accurate as a total station. Well, the thing is, I end up doing a lot of surveys where, like, they're kind of like partial surveys whereby the information is important, say at the back of a property, but the information out the front's not important. So I use the GS18 to make like a glorified site plan. So for argument's sake, if I'm doing a survey for a swimming pool, someone does need the position of the house and the floor level and maybe a ridge and a guttering and the back fencing all mapped accurately with the TS16. But I use the GS18 out the front to map the rest of the building and the driveway and the curb and the gutter and some trees and gardens and things to make a glorified site plan. So, and I put that on my plan, that I just sort of make a note to say that it's not well, it's accurate, but it's not as accurate as what's out the back, sort of thing. So it's sort of like a glorified site plan. But the GS18 I use all the time for reconnaissance surveys, you know, just going out finding survey marks and things like that. So, which saves a lot of time, because if you were to just traverse up and down the road looking for survey marks, and not find anything, it just seems like a waste of effort. So I try and use the GS18 and hop in the car and drive up and down the road looking for as many marks as I can find. And then once I know how many I've got, then I might traverse between them accurately if I need to do that. But it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But even if it's not the GS18 and you're using a Trimble R10 or 12 or whatever they've got these days, or the GPS just saves so much time. And I guess you just got to understand what its limitations are and what you can and can't use it for. But again, I use mine just to find stuff, basically. and I'll measure accurate coordinates of the marks, and then when I need to actually traverse between them to do a little bit more precise work, or if I need to mark a boundary corner, well then I'll measure between them with a TS16. Yeah, well that's the thing. I don't have a base rover set up for my GS18, and I kind of wish I did. But as people I've spoken to say that using base and rover as opposed to using CoreNet, it's way more reliable, and yeah, I kind of wish. I've got an old Topcon GPS GLONASS base and rover kit, but I use the GS18 with CoreNet, and it's pretty cool. But I wish I had another base. I really would. I have been trying to hit up CR Kennedy in Sydney to see if they can sell me maybe not a GS18, but maybe a GS16 as a base or something like that. But they still want a lot of money for it. But I suppose if you're out, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, it's really good. The base and rover, definitely more reliable, I think. Yeah, that's right. I have used my Topcon base as the base and was able to connect my GS18 to that, but it was a little bit fiddly, and it did work. It worked. It connected okay. However, and I mean, you've got to make sure that you have all the radio, the frequency all set up. But the limitation is because the base was only GPS and GLONASS, that meant that my Leica, which has got all the constellations, would actually revert to, or go to only GPS and GLONASS, which meant that I'd only have about 12 or 14 satellites maximum of to use. And okay, if you're out in the scrub, like in the middle of nowhere, big open paddock, but not great under canopy or thick vegetation, Do I have venomous snakes in, well, where I live here in Sydney, Australia? No, well, there could be, but yes, out where I work, there are brown snakes and red belly black snakes, and I must admit I haven't seen any. That's the thing. When I'm walking around the bush, I never see them. I've got long pants on. Um, good boots and things like that. So, but if you were bitten by a brown snake or a black snake or whatever, yeah, you got to be careful. It could kill you. You know, so and with me, I'm just a one-person business, and sometimes that's not a great idea walking around the bush by yourself. But yeah, you've got to be pretty careful. But in Australia we have venomous snakes and spiders and crocodiles and lots of things like that. Well, no crocodiles where I am, but yeah, that's right. Carry around a snake bandage, and also I've got not some snake gaiters, but I've got some sort of gaiter type things that go around your ankles and sort of shins or whatever. But yeah, thankfully I've never. Thankfully, nothing. I haven't, haven't been affected by any snakes. Do I use a drone? I do have a drone. I've got a DJI Mavic Pro. I do use it to take top-down aerial photography. Obviously, I'm limited to 120 meters high. I can't go any higher, but I mean, you can get some pretty good imagery of the site you're working on, which is handy. I primarily just use it these days. I used to run like a sort of a grid pattern, but I don't have the software anymore to process the data, and I just tend to just use it to take aerial photos of the property, and I put that on my plans. So yeah. I've got a couple of videos. I think it was my very, very first YouTube video. I'm just trying to have a look. A long time ago now. If you want to find it, you'd have to go. Well, it might be under the category of drone or something like that, I think. But I flew along a boundary line, and I just took an aerial, like a video type thing, and I gave that to the client because the client didn't live on the property, or didn't live even near the property, so there was no way of them going to the property, and so I made a video to show the marks that I placed. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, or generally I just use a thing called 6 Maps to download aerial imagery. I don't use near maps. I know that can get you updated aerial photography, but then again, having a drone, you just fly it up wherever you're working, go up, take a nice photo of the site, and that's good enough for. I can stick that into my CAD software, and if there's a dam or a building or whatever, I can trace the location of those things without actually mapping them, just for joining info. So. Yeah. Thanks, Leith. I'm just trying to think of the program that I had. I don't know what it was called now. Oh, it was an app. It was an app that you could connect to the DJI drone. I think it was called Maps Made Easy. And that was one that would allow you to plan a route, and then the drone would take off, do that, and land back. And they would stitch all the things together. But yeah, I'll check out Open Drone Map. I must admit, yeah, Open Drone Map. I can see it now. So many things, so many programs, apps and things like that. I recently got a new phone, and an iPhone, and I didn't realise that. Well, my old phone was an iPhone 10. I've since got the latest one now, but I didn't even realise there was a LiDAR thing on it, like programs, and it's kind of like a laser scanning sort of thing. You can move it all around the room and make sort of like a little aerial, like a 3D LiDAR image, which is pretty cool. I use satellite imagery at work a lot, primarily of other countries. Gee, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I kind of wish, like, some of the mapping software that surveyors access, like government ones, like 6 Maps and things like that, the aerial imagery is not up to date. Like it's kind of relevant, but it's like a couple of years old, and no good if you. I recently did a survey on a new block of land, and didn't realise that the neighbours next door had put a swimming pool in. Because when you look at the aerial photography, you couldn't see what was next door because it was all vacant. And then I had a vacant block of land, but the people next door had built a house, but on the other side of the fence was a swimming pool, and I didn't even know the swimming pool existed. But thankfully, when I took some photos with my drone, I could actually see that there was a swimming pool there. But I wouldn't have known just looking at, even 6 Maps or near maps or anything like that. I wouldn't have known that there was a pool there. Yeah, I did have Pix 4D for a while. Must admit, my drone is getting old now. Well, it's the original Mavic Pro #1, but still going well. Got to buy some new batteries for it, I know that. But another cool thing I do have is an Insta360 X3, like a 360-degree camera, which I've used on some of my videos, you may have seen. And I mount it on a little sort of neck mount, not a chest mount, but this one just goes around my neck and it just sort of sits there. And I can film hands-free, basically, and I don't have to worry about where I'm looking because it captures everything in real time. And then later on I can just go back and edit the videos, and I've used that a lot of the time too, just for projects where instead of walking around taking lots of photos after a survey, I'll just press record and just walk right around the property, and it captures everything. And then later on, if I go, oh, what was in that corner, or what was that concrete there, or was that pebbles, or a garden or whatever, I can just go back and look at the photo, or the video imagery, which is pretty cool. So Yeah, that's pretty cool, Heath. And I think the thing is, you can do some pretty cool stuff with the drone these days. I guess it's just understanding how to process all the data, and put it all together. And um, I guess you could probably photograph something and then contour the whole site, without even stepping foot on. Or maybe you put some site control in. And then when you process it, you cut out, you cut out any data above a certain height, maybe, anything higher than a metre off the ground or whatever is excluded from the data when you contour it or something like that. Yeah. There's that Elvis elevation, where you can download LiDAR data and create contours over properties and stuff. That's pretty cool. I've done that a few times for people who just want like a real basic sort of idea on what their block looks like before doing any sort of, just for pre-planning purposes. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it's 23rd of December 2024. Goodness me. I think the year's gone pretty quickly, really. So hope everyone's got something good planned for the holidays. I'd like to make some better videos in 2025. That's the goal. Some longer videos. Does Minicad do LiDAR files, or is it just a plugin? I don't know, to be honest. I think what you can do is if you use Elvis Elevation, you can export the LiDAR as a DXF, and that can be read into Minicad as a DXF, and then you can do it that way. I think people that use Magnet Office, I think that's a little bit more user-friendly when it comes to things like that. Yeah, Minicad, I think really the only way it can sort of create a plan is to read a DXF file. Sometimes, if you've got an architectural drawing and you don't want to draw it up, you can just import the DXF and it'll do it all for you, which is pretty cool. Just checking something. Yeah, well, in Minicad, it's under the utility software section. I think um, I think you can just go file merge or file open and choose a DXF file, or you go tools, utilities, or and go drafting CAD, read a DXF, and that's how you bring in the data. But I do use QGIS too. I've used that to read that LiDAR data or the shape file that I get from the Elvis elevation. So that's how I read the shape file, generate contours to whatever interval I want, and then it's a bit clunky, but then export that with the labels for the contours out into AutoCAD basically. I don't put it into Minicad as such, but you could, I think. That would be handy, Keith. I don't. I mean, you'd think it'd be possible with the amount of satellites whizzing around the country, or it's just a pity that all the Starlink satellites. I don't know too much about them, but if they were all, if you surveying GPS could connect to them as well, that would be pretty cool. As in terms of navigation, it'd be fantastic. But yeah, that would be cool if. I guess it's just updating the data, I guess, is the thing too. Things change so rapidly that it's like buying a car or buying a computer. Once you've got it, it's out of date, sort of stuff. No, I haven't, Leith. Used Vexel data. No, I haven't. Heard of or used Vexel data. Vexel. I'm looking it up now. See, that's the crazy thing. There are so many. I mean, thanks for sharing that. There's so many. I mean, near maps was sort of the first, I think, maybe of offering, or there was Google Earth and Google Maps, but near maps was sort of like the first one that sort of provided the most up to date sort of imagery. and now everyone's sort of coming on board. And I guess that's the great thing about being surveyors, is that we're kind of in the same boat, that data, people pay for data, which is kind of like where I wanted to go with the Save a Survey Mark Day next year, where the idea would be that if you could find all these marks and have coordinates for them, and then maybe somehow, I don't know how it would work, but if you could resell your data, say, yeah, I've surveyed that street, here are the coordinates for all those survey marks in that street. They might be marks buried underground or whatever. And you might charge a small fee for it. Obviously, once you've found the mark, it's up to you, the surveyor, to be able to, you have to measure that mark, remeasure that mark again, and you make the decision as to what you do with the measurements. I mean, but if someone could give you a head start and say, well, here are the coordinates for that survey mark, it's buried under the ground, and that might just, you might pay a small fee for that. Say you pay $5 or $10 or something like that for a spreadsheet of data. That's going to save you hours in the field looking for those marks. So, yeah, I'd love to explore something like that, but I just don't know how you do it. I'm open to suggestions, though. Love the channel. Thanks, Joe. I'm getting a Leica. Do I get a TS16P or a TS16I? I'm not sure about a P or an I. Oh, well, the I might be the imaging TS16. I'll tell you what I've got. That's interesting. I didn't get the imaging one because I just didn't want, it was just an extra camera in there. That's kind of handy. The TS16, I'll tell you what I've got, just out of interest now. You made me have a look up my thing. I know mine's fully robotic, obviously. But here we go. Mine's a TS16P. So thanks, Joe. I must admit it was something I'd never actually even thought about. I mean, years ago I had a Leica TCRA 1103, but I didn't even know the P. But mine's a P 3-second, and it's reflectorless 1,000 meters. I think the 1,000 meter reflectorless is definitely worth doing, and it enables you to measure to, I mean, I must admit I've never really measured to many things up to 1 kilometre away, but I have been able to get 800 or 900 metres to a building way over the other side of a hill that may be the only nearest object, so yeah. I think if you have no need for the imaging component, the TS16P is good enough. Yeah, but I'd recommend getting the longer reflectorless, because that's always good. Yeah, Global Mapper. A friend of mine's using Global Mapper, and he goes on about it all the time, and how he can generate contours and heights over a property without even doing a survey. Or he may take just a few heights, and it's good for pre-planning if someone just wants to know what roughly the ground level is. That seems to be a good way of doing it. So. Maxar wants to put a massive constellation of imagery satellites. Yeah, well, I mean, there are so many satellites whizzing around up there, like Gee, we'll probably be out of a job soon. Yeah, well, I suppose, Joe, the TS16 5-second 500R, yeah, I didn't even know they did a 5-second. I think a 3-second just gives you that extra level of confidence. I mean, you obviously want to read, if you're reading survey control, you want to read a, on a couple of faces. Some people buy the 1 second, but I don't. I've never had to worry about that one. Yeah, no complaints about the TS16. I think if you're about to buy one, you probably have the luxury of getting the auto height from underneath, which is something I don't have. And I kind of wish, if I wanted to measure the height of a station, you get your measuring tape and measure to the little dot, on the side there. But the auto height is a new feature, and I think that's a game changer. I'd love to have that. And the AP20, I've made a few videos about the AP20. Yeah, that's really, really cool. I definitely get that. Yeah, 1 by 1 meter, tiny satellite, isn't it? Gee. Yeah, Leica asked me to talk at the what do you call it? The Hexagon Live next year, 2025 in Vegas. And they wanted, because I'd made a few videos about the Leica, and in fact I promote Leica all the time. I don't get any kickbacks from Leica, none whatsoever. Not even when I bought the new gear, no discounts. I kind of wonder why I did it, but they wanted to know if I'd speak to. They wanted to know if I'd speak to the Leica community for about 10 minutes on a topic, maybe about the AP20 or the GS18 or something like that, but I haven't. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it next year, but I might be there in maybe 2 years' time. I think it only happens every 2 years, but yeah, they wanted to. I mean, you might say I'm crazy. They were going to pay for me to go there. I had to do a 10-minute talk, and I get all accommodation, travel, and entrance to Hexagon Live covered if I did it. But I didn't. I haven't yet. So. I haven't committed to it. They haven't asked me again, but yeah, well, the optical plummet, Joe, I can't show you here, but I have the Leica. It's actually on one of the videos that I've got. I've got the Leica SNLL321 laser plummets. So the Tribrac doesn't have an optical plummet at all. It's just a hole and the 3-foot screws, and the laser plummet goes in, and I use that for traversing. And it's the same with the total station. The total station won't come with an optical plummet either. I don't think they come with an optical plummet. because it's just got a laser plummet, so you don't ever have to worry about the optical plummet at all. But when you buy the total station, maybe they don't give you a tri-brake. That's the silly things with Leica, you know. They'll if you want the tri-brake, that's extra. It's like buying a car and them not giving you wheels or tires, you know. So I would get the total station with the tri-brake without the optical plummet in it. It's just one less thing to have to adjust, you know. You want to buy a TS16, but the price is expensive in Indonesia. Yeah, it is. Well, I'm not sure about Indonesia, but I know this is the CS20, and that costs about 8,500 Australian, and the TS16 at the time cost me a bit over $30,000. So collectively that and the TS16, there was a bit of a special on, I think, at the time, but it's like about 45, nearly 50 grand's worth of gear, which is a lot of money. It's good to see a few people from different parts of the world. It's always nice to have you all tuning in, which is nice. For those who don't know, I'm in Sydney, Australia, so that's where I come from, and we're almost getting there with the channel. 956 subscribers now. Whew. I'm fingers crossed we get to 1,000 subscribers, and that's the goal. I'd like obviously more than 1,000. I'd love way more than that, obviously, but I want to keep making. I don't think I'd give up surveying completely, but I'd love to take it a little bit easier, and I'd love to just keep making surveying videos. That's what I'd really like to do. I've made a lot of videos. I like finding old survey marks for those who may have seen some of the videos I've made. I'll just put this there. I made a video the other day, just a short, and it was to do with the Leica 41CX. I mean Leica. The Hewlett-Packard 41CX, which is my everyday calculator. And it was a silly thing. It was by putting in 10.101. It's there. 10.101. Enter 25 divide. And you turn it upside down and it spells ho ho ho. It was a bit of a Christmas joke, really. I put that up there on the YouTube Shorts. Yeah. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions about surveying, anything you'd like to discuss. I'd like to do a lot more live streams and I appreciate everyone that's been on today. I'm severely grateful, sincerely grateful. I can't even get my words right. It's getting close to Christmas, and I would like to do more live streams. I'd love to do them when I'm in the field, and it just sort of gets a little bit tricky to sit there and chat to you at the same time as working. I should be working now, but I'm just sort of procrastinating a little bit and just taking it a bit easy. But I'd like to try and do a few more live streams. Obviously, with everyone around the world, everyone sort of comes in at different times. So I've just got to sort of try and find a sort of a happy medium for everyone. Thus the reason I've been on here for nearly an hour and a half and 90 minutes. Just allowing a few people to come in and go, which is great. And like I said, if you haven't seen all the videos, I've got some longer ones up there, and I'm just looking at some of them now. Like some of the ones I've Mickey reacts, the boy is absolutely fine for surveying. Not sure, Mickey, was there a typo there? But I do have a lot of great videos. Well, I'm not Steven Spielberg, obviously, but I've got a lot of good videos there. I'm just looking at my channel now. Some that are sort of around the 10 to 15 minutes. Some are 30 minutes long. Really cool one, but you've just got to sort of go through and watch them from start to finish, which would be greatly appreciated. Lots of interesting survey marks I've found. Obviously, things that I've got. Like I found a lot of old survey marks. And 6 months ago, I actually went to Europe on a holiday, and of course I had to make some videos about that. So I'm just looking at it now. Under World Survey Marks, I've made a whole bunch of videos about all different survey marks that I found in Venice, Italy, and in Greece, and I'll just go through them. Yeah, a lot in Italy, Marseille, Barcelona, Malta, Greece, Pompeii. That was really cool. I found some really cool marks in Pompeii, so make sure you check them out. That's under the World Survey Marks. I'm trying to sort of categorize my videos a bit better. I found some really cool marks under the Rialto Bridge in Italy, which is really in Venice. So that was pretty cool as well. So Surveyor Travel Guide. Do I have any plans to develop my business for the next few years or next coming years? I'm not really sure. I guess at one stage I sort of imagined expanding my business other than just being by myself. Sort of a few family things sort of got in the way of that, and I've got kids that are sort of in the tail end of their schooling, so I'm hoping that I can get all that out of the way, and then I might think about expanding my business a bit. In an absolute dream, my ultimate dream would be to make surveying videos for a living. How cool would that be? Just going around finding old survey marks. I guess you got to put it out there to people. It might sound crazy, but I don't know if you've seen that channel called The Outdoor Boys. Maybe some of you may have seen that. Well, that guy was actually a lawyer, and or a solicitor or someone like that, and he just grabbed a camera and started making adventure videos, and I kind of got a soft spot for that sort of idea, but from a surveying perspective, so it's a little bit different. And I think there's there's not many people out there promoting surveying. So yeah, definitely that's sort of my goal. So that's why I need everyone to maybe watch the videos if they can. Watch as many of the videos that I've made so far and give them a like. That would enable me to continue on. Said I was sorry for that. Something went a bit crazy there with the live stream. But yeah, if you're a land surveyor or you're someone who likes surveying, my channel is sort of set up for that. And the idea, my sort of goal or vision, if you think of it from a business point of view, is to grow the channel quite large. That's what I'd like to do, and to make lots of videos about land surveying. We have a real shortage of surveyors in Australia, believe it or not, and maybe there's shortages around the world, I'm not sure, but definitely in Australia, and shortages of registered surveyors, and getting registered is quite difficult. It's not an easy thing. Obviously, you've got to have a university degree to start with. And then you do a lot of extra study after that to get your qualifications. So it takes a while. I got my qualifications back in 2012, so 12 years ago now. So I've been doing it for a while, but I think the purpose with my channel is really just to promote surveying and talk about surveying and showcase the wonderful things that surveyors do, and again, go out and find old survey marks. That's sort of the goal. I love to do that, and if I could make a living going out and finding old survey marks and making videos about it, I'd be there. I'd be doing it all the time. So. Yeah, so I've been sitting here having to think about drawing 2 plans. I'm going to have to go soon and start drawing a plan for a client of mine. They won't be doing anything with the plans between now and Christmas, but I guess that's not the point. You've just got to get it done, and it's a detailed survey and an ident survey for a new home. So that's what I'll be doing. But if you're just jumping in, if you're just joining, let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to know. If you're a surveyor, ask me a question. If you're not a surveyor and want to ask a question, feel free. Scott's my name. AKA the Global Surveyor. And some people say, why the Global Surveyor? You know, where did that name come from? Well, actually, back many, many moons ago in the early 90s, I created a blog back when blogs were first starting. You know, it was a different thing to a website. It was kind of like, you know, a social networking sort of thing. And I created a blog and a website called Global Surveyors, and it was sort of like a way of people, like a sort of a Facebook for surveyors. And so that's where the name the Global Surveyor came from. As a sole practitioner, I know where you're coming from, Zane. Yeah, it's sort of it's a tricky one because I'm the only one that's checking what I do. So I have to actually check and double check and double check. I've got a little checklist that I go through and make sure that all the components on the plan are correct. And obviously, you know, I've got my insurances in place and stuff, but never make any mistakes. But I could see that having more people, that would be an easy thing. It would be a lot easier to have someone help QA your plans. But generally, no, I just do it myself. Well, thanks, Surveyor Travel Diary. Happy holidays to you too. And thanks for coming in Papua New Guinea, or Papua, Indonesia. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's great. And have a great Christmas too if you're leaving the live stream now. Thanks a lot for your comments, and have a great Christmas, and see you next year if you're disappearing. So what type of work do you do, Zane Thompson? Are you doing all sorts of survey work? Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I try and stick with cadastral type work as well. I'm not. I don't like being stuck on construction sites or engineering type jobs. I used to many years ago, but sort of given that up now and just sort of stick to cadastral work. A good mate of mine actually runs a survey firm. I think their office is in Southbank. Their business is called SurveyMark. I don't know if you've heard of that one before. Yeah, well, I guess if you're down the Sunshine Coast. Oh, well, that's right. You guys are up the Sunshine Coast. So, yeah. I don't know if they do any work up that way. Yeah, it's an interesting one. We've got a survey firm down here in Sydney called Survey Plus, and there's a few other survey firms that have got some interesting names. My business is just my name basically, so But like some people do, you know, have interesting names for businesses. But if you just come across the channel, Zane, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, Global Surveyors is a channel about surveying, and I like to promote land surveying in all different types. But I was saying to a few people, I'd really love to make a living just making videos about surveying and finding old survey marks, which is what I've done. There's quite a few videos about that. So that's the goal with the channel. Yeah, cheers for that. I know there's a massive shortage of surveyors, especially in Sydney and maybe all around Australia too. And we seem to just be flat out. So I can't give up surveying altogether and just make YouTube videos, which I'd love to do. That would be a pretty cool job, really. But yeah, trying to encourage more people to get into surveying, really. And the funny thing is, people say, well, you know, if there's not as many surveyors, that means there's more work for the surveyor. But it's a little bit stressful when you've got too much work, you know. As I have at the moment, I was saying I've got 2 jobs to finish by the end of before Christmas. A detail survey and an ident survey that I have to finish and draw up. Because as a surveyor, I'm also the drafts person and the chief photo copy maker and the coffee machine person and the secretary, and you know, when you work for yourself, you do everything.